All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Rise and Grind Morning Show. I apologize. For some reason, the thumbnail did not update on today's show. Let me take care of that real quick. But before we get into that, man, we've got a heck of a roster for you guys this morning. Could be a short show. We'll see where it goes. You know how we like to talk. But this morning, we've got Lions and NFL news and rumors. Of course, it's over-under reaction Monday. What does that mean based on this last weekend's news with the PUP list, the NFI list, and other things that are going on within Allen Park? Rookies finally report. We are back to football. We'll touch on that. The Lions defense will be fine. I promise you that they're going to be all right. And we'll have some mailbag questions probably to finish this out today. So if you want to get your questions in, mailbag@rockdon.com. And we'll be back in 90 seconds with all this and more. We'll see you guys shortly. Good morning.
Schefter at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people shattering the NFL draft attendance record.
This is the future.
All grit.
Evolution. This is the future.
All grit.
Evolution.
All grit. All right, and we're back. So welcome into the Rise and Grind Morning Show. It is July 22nd, 2024, 8:06 a.m. Rocking and rolling this morning. Eric, good morning, man. How was your weekend? How you doing today?
Oh, great weekend, man. Last night, the wife and I did some tent camping in our backyard. We had a little campfire, made s'mores, put a tent in the backyard. It was awesome. It was a really good time, actually. And, yeah, I'm a little tired this morning, but man, what a fun time.
Yeah, I wish, I could do those things. Like, mom's surgically repaired. I've talked about that a lot, but between my neck and my back, I miss being able to do stuff like that. Like, in order for me to do that, I had to go out and buy a $500 foam mattress and cots. And I can't sleep on air beds. So we've even got the truck decked out. So last year I was building the turned up tailgates truck, which hopefully I'll get it refinished for this season. And when we take it on the road, it's kind of decked out. It's got a bed in there. It's got drawers in there. We've got all our camping gear in there, all the podcast equipment and tents and all sorts of stuff like, canopy tents. So I got that bed for that. But now I take that queen mattress that folds up into 3 pieces, if we decide to do some camping. But man, I did landscaping again all weekend. This has been an all summer project and it's coming together, man. I think the last final piece is the pizza oven in the backyard is going to be phenomenal. The only issue is now we have people with gluten allergies, so I'm going to have to figure out how to make a gluten-free pizza crust. So
Cauliflower crust, it rocks.
Yeah, I've had them. They're just too oily for me. Like, it's too greasy. I don't know why, but I don't know why they put so much oil in it, but man, it's too greasy.
Little restaurant I go to up in the middle of nowhere, Pine Stump Junction, I get the same thing every Tuesday and Thursday. A pineapple. All right, no, I get a cauliflower crust pizza with pulled pork and barbecue sauce and pineapple, and it's so good.
It sounds great. You're not supposed to put pineapple on pizza, but I guess if you're going non-traditional crust, it kind of makes sense,
I do it. Pineapple on pizza is just perfection.
That song just popped in my head. A pineapple pen, oh God. Oh. All right, it's Monday, man. I am completely whipped. I hope we have a good show for you guys today. We got some good topics. It is the final few days. Okay, so media is going to be able to report to training camp, I believe, on Wednesday. So this will be the final few days of the dead season, and we're going to get through it the best we can. Schedule will be posted tonight. I'll re-update the bio of this page, the Twitter page, the Rockdown page on Facebook, and then I'll also put out a community post to let you guys know what the schedule is. I might even do a video to kind of explain what the schedule is for right now. We've got a few things popping up. I've got to go back to Cleveland. Eric's taking some vacation, so we'll manage the best we can. There'll be more pop-ups than they will be scheduled, if that makes sense. But we'll get through it. So over under is Eric's segment this morning. So Eric, I'll let you kick it off. It's over under, and then before we do that, let me welcome in the chat this morning. We've got the loyalty crew in the house, man, bright and early. Tracy kicking us off as usual. We do need to get Tracy some help. I know that we reached out to a few people, but if anybody is interested in becoming a moderator, obviously you'll be heavily vetted. But we are opening up a couple more spots for mods. Of course, Eric, if you have anybody in mind, just let me know. And if you want to, you just send us an email at mailbag@rockdown.com. We'll have a conversation and make sure that, we know who you are and kind of what we expect with moderation. So we got Roger Chappis. We've got Rick in the house, Mike P, David Barton, Randy P. We got Mike P and Randy P. Who else is in here this morning? Nevets, that's a newer name, or I haven't seen you in here before. Welcome in. Peter Van Larhoven is back. So good morning. Will, did you get any word on the Sutton case? What's going on with the Sutton case? Last we knew that the grievance that he was going to file, I don't know if he's actually filed it yet. He's been suspended by the NFL. So with that happening, if that's what you're talking about, that it's quite possibly he may not file a grievance because the NFL's already acted. Now, if the NFL did not suspend him, maybe he would have filed it right away. But then again, we just don't know what we don't know. And until, the major media members pick this up or the NFL posts something, it could be a while. I mean, that type of case could probably take 2 years, depending on whether it just goes through the NFLPA and then it's they make a decision on it, or if it actually has to go to a court of law where a judge needs to decide on it. That case would probably take a couple years. So, all right, let's get it rolling. So we are going to be charged the $4.2 million, Peter, and that's going to be charged at least until this stuff is dropped, until the NFL makes their decision. So even if the NFL says, hey, the Lions aren't responsible, then Cam could still file his grievance. But without having all the information in front of me, I'll digress. We'll pick it back up once we learn more. Appreciate the question this morning. And then if you guys want to get your questions in for the show, make sure that you hit up mailbag@rockdown.com. We'll get questions for Chef. You get questions for me, for Eric, whomever. Any questions, comments, show ideas. But let's kick it off. It's Over Under Monday. Let's do it. Over Under Monday. Eric, what do you got?
All right. So the Lions started the weekend with four players being put on the PUP or the NFI list. So Giovanni Manu was put on the NFI list. DJ Reader, Marcus Davenport, and Brian Branch were put on the PUP list. Is it an over or an underreaction to think that the Lions will add more to this list when the veterans report on Tuesday? And as a side note, will Mosley be added to the PUP list?
That is a great question. And let me preface this by stating that the Lions won't start putting guys on PUP lists or NFI list or injured reserve list until they report. I've heard that, some people will say, well, they don't have to technically report anything right now, but there are guidelines from the way I understand it that they do have to report major injuries or anything that is going to sideline a player for camp. It's not like they just can play hide the weenie here. The team is, under the assumption that all players are going to come into practice, and those that are not. I mean, I believe it does affect their. I believe it does affect their contracts to a degree, and or roster bonuses or practice bonuses, all that stuff. I think there's some implication to all of that. I wouldn't know what all of that is because I don't know what's in all of their contracts. So they do have to report something. Once the season starts, then we actually get the game designation reports, which is a little bit different than what we're seeing now. So to answer your question here, we don't know what we don't know, because when the veterans technically report, here in a couple of days, that is when the Lions can make their decisions. These guys are going to come in. They're going to go through, physicals. They're going to get looked over by the docs. Any injuries from last season, they're probably going to be reevaluated. Maybe they'll touch up on MRIs or X-rays, and then they'll make a decision. Hey, I fell off my boat. Not feeling the greatest. Probably can't go today. Need a few days. Well, he's going to be placed on NFI potentially, or they may just say, well, just hold out, work with the trainers. So as far as Mosley goes, I heard, there was great news that Mosley wasn't on the list. Well, Mosley hasn't reported yet. That we know of. So if he hasn't reported, there's no reason why he would be on the list just yet. Now, that's just my opinion. I have not spoken to anybody at Allen Park about this. I think it's safe to assume let's wait until the vets report to see if this list grows, because it could. And it's just something you guys got to put in the back of your mind. This list can grow. So is it an overreaction that the list could grow? I don't think so. The list could grow. And was there another question in there?
I think that was it. Just one thing you got to remember with the PUP list: a person can go on the PUP list and they can come off anytime. They can be stuck there for 4 weeks once the season starts, or they can come off anytime they want beforehand.
Yeah, that's the difference with doing it now. That changes come 53-man cuts. So if they remain on the list during cut week or cut day, now that that's changed, it's not like cut week anymore, it's just the end of August. Then if they remain on the list, then they do have to miss the first 4 weeks of the season. NFI is, I think it follows the same rules to a degree, but yes, right now, PUP, NFI, they can be taken off. But once they are taken off, they cannot go back on. Does that make sense? Yep. If they come off the list before 53-man cuts, they are stuck. They are now either cut, waived, or on the 53-man roster, or injured reserve. And injured reserve, I believe carries 8 weeks, maybe. I can't remember if they made changes to it, if it's still 4. But that would be the difference in terminology. I'll do a better job at pulling some of this stuff up while you're asking questions.
All right. So we're going to keep on going here with DJ Reader and Marcus Davenport both starting the season on the PUP list. Half of the Detroit Lions day one starting defensive line is sidelined. Is it an overreaction to think that the defense may not hit the ground running like some of us believed? Or will 2 players step up in those roles while they're away?
Repeat the last half of that. I was typing away.
Do you believe that the defense may not hit the ground running like some of us believe, or will 2 players step up in those roles while they're away?
Look, I'm still confident about these Lions, and here's why. Number one, we kind of expected the DJ Reader thing. It's been talked about since he was brought in. That one was not a surprise to me. The surprise was Marcus Davenport, high ankle sprain. That is a 12-week deal. At most, it's typically a 16-week deal, unless you've gone under some sort of a surgery. But even then, Marcus Davenport would have had this surgery like last November, I believe. So you're talking 7 months, 8 months of him, or even 10 months almost. I think he was down October 15th of last season. So almost 10 months of rehab. There's no way, in my opinion, that a high ankle sprain is going to last that long. You've heard me say it before. Sometimes with a high ankle sprain, you would be much better off just breaking it. Take James Houston into consideration here. Now, he fractured, right? He had a fractured ankle, and he was back by the end of the season. Now, if he can come back from a fractured ankle, why can't you come back from a high ankle sprain? We've seen guys with high ankle sprains play, within 4 to 6 weeks throughout the season. Everyone's a little bit different, but 10 months, 9 months, 8 months, that whatever it's been, that's a long time. So that one, to me, that's a surprise. Brian Branch, I think he had his surgery sometime at the end of February, early March. So that would put him around the 4-month mark of rehab. He was held out, of OTAs, minicamp, all that stuff. And for that reason, I was so surprised there too. To answer the question, are the Lions going to hit the ground running? Absolutely they are, because we expected some of this. When you think about the cornerback room, so I'll touch on Brian Branch first. Amik Robertson is now our 4th. I'm not calling you a depth guy, Amik, but you are now what is considered on paper the 4th best corner in that room, which is better than everybody that was on the roster last season. So if you can think of it that way, you now have Carlton Davis, Terrion Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw, who, he's been battling through injury. Thankfully, he wasn't on the list. When you think about it that way, man, we are head and shoulders above where we were. Kirby Joseph hits the ground running. Ifeatu Melifonwu hits the ground running. So I'm not worried about the DB room right now. Defensive end. Well, Davenport, he's been known to have injury issues. He's going to be slow to come back. This just means that he's going to have to get in towards the end of training camp, hopefully, or throughout the preseason. This is a guy I want to see play in the preseason. I want to see what he has. I think it would be critical to put him out there to see if this defense is ready, ready to jump, ready to pounce with him in the game. And that just means now that Mekhi Wingo is going to get more of an opportunity because he's an inside-outside guy in the end. Josh Paschal is going to have more opportunity because he's, inside-outside. So is John Kaminsky. All 3 of those guys are hybrid players. But then the guys behind him, Mathieu Betts, James Houston, who's healthy, those guys are going to get a big opportunity right now in camp to shine. So I think that it is a good thing to see these guys in an expanded role in training camp and throughout preseason. We're going to see those guys playing a lot more. And we kind of already know what Marcus Davenport can do. We just don't know what he can do when he's healthy on this roster. So the defense hits the ground running, flat out. We've got plenty of guys. We are extremely deep in this roster right now. I think we're all set. Did I miss anything there?
Nope, you got her.
All right.
All right, so the next question up. With 3 upcoming preseason games and training camp, Hendon Hooker has to battle Nate Sudfeld for the number 2 backup quarterback spot. Is it an over or an underreaction to think that Hooker will blow us all away in the preseason games and overtake Sudfeld for the backup role?
Pause. I don't think Hooker's blowing anybody. Anyway.
You had to go there.
Sorry. It's Monday.
Oh.
All right. So is it an over under reaction that you said that Hooker will beat out Sudfeld?
Yeah, and blow us away in the preseason. Like, what is your prediction for Hooker in the preseason this year?
Look, if he can't beat out Sudfeld, we got problems.
Yep.
We got major problems. I'm expecting that to happen. Now, Sudfeld is going to come in more prepared. He knows this offense. He knows Jared Goff. He knows these players. He knows Dan Campbell. And so does Hendon Hooker to a degree. I mean, he's been with the team now, his second season. He should know and feel comfortable with everything going on. The thing that I liked about Hendon Hooker is and we'll touch more on this in a minute, when he was talking to Terrion Arnold. So Terrion Arnold's going around the room asking guys about, the rookie their conditioning test that they had to do. And Hooker said, piece of cake. Like he was fine. I did not expect that from Hooker. I expected Terrion Arnold to say it was a piece of cake. Terrion was gassed. So the fact that Hendon Hooker came in and he was good to go, that's great. That means that he's in shape. He's ready. He's firing on all cylinders. The fact that he's in there with the rookies, I think, is also great. We obviously need quarterbacks, throughout rookie camp. But the fact that he is there getting extra work in is awesome. What were you going to say?
When was that test? I missed it.
Over the weekend.
Oh, awesome. I didn't see any of that.
Yeah, so the rookies, they do a conditioning test when they first get in. Just like the vets will. They'll have to do their conditioning test too. So you didn't see the statement about what Terry and Arnold said?
No, not at
all right, so let me just talk about that, because that was in here. That was part of the rookies report conversation. But Terry and Arnold, he went live either on his IG or Twitter or something, where it was a video. Not real sure, but he was going around talking to the guys in the locker room after the conditioning test, and he was like, man, that conditioning test was no joke. Now, I'm paraphrasing. I'm not direct quote here, but it's close. That conditioning test was no joke. You can tell that these Detroit Lions are all about winning a Super Bowl. That's what he said, because that conditioning test was that difficult. He went around and he asked Ennis Rakestraw, Hendon Hooker, another guy I didn't recognize. I don't know who that was sitting next to Ennis Rakestraw now. But yeah, Hendon Hooker had no problem with it. Ennis Rakestraw, it seemed like he was good to go. And Terry and Arnold said that he's in shape and it was tough. And I did not expect that at all. Not from a corner to not be in shape, so to speak. So yeah, there's that.
All right. With this season being a pivotal year 3 for JMO, is it an over or underreaction that he needs to get playing time in all 3 preseason games? So do you think he needs to play in all 3 of the preseason games?
That was Hendon Hooker?
No, JMO.
Yeah, I don't think that'll happen. I think with the loss of Josh Reynolds, I don't think that we're going to see JMO a whole lot. I would like to see him get a lot of work, obviously, in the camp practices, and especially in the practice with the Giants. But get him in at least one game. Like, give him a half.
Yeah.
Let's see what he has. Let's build up his confidence, because I think if you're in there against second and third guys, and you can build up your confidence, that'll just help him throughout the season. I doubt it will happen. I hope it does, but if I'm thinking realistically here, they should know what JMO can do. They probably have a really good idea of what he's able to do. They will obviously want to see him continue where he left off from last season. Now, he wasn't putting up a ton of yards, but he was starting to finally find his footing and be a little bit more consistent. So I would love to see him in a preseason game. I just don't think if it does, it's not going to be very long, like maybe a series or 2 at most.
If we rewind back to last season, JMO started out the preseason game and got hurt, and then we never saw him again. And he knew he had that suspension coming up, and they just kind of shelved him. So I think that kind of put him a little behind the 8 ball last year. So I'm hoping that they kind of get him in for a game or 2, even if it's just a series. I would really like to see him play a little bit in the preseason. Like you said, get that confidence up, get him going, and let's see what he's got. All right.
Hold on 1 second. I want to touch on the chat here. It looks like we have Illinois MCG. So I saw Illinois MCG in one of the Bears press conferences the other day. I was in there creating some waves, man. I was having some fun with some Bears. But he says, man, you got to put that title belt back on the Shelf Lions crew, back up for grabs, that the Bears are coming for it. Bear down. Yeah, it's ours to lose. That's for sure. But I don't think the Lions are looking at it that way. I think that the Super Bowl is what they have their vision on. And, win or lose the NFC North title, you can still make it into the playoffs and make a deep run. Even if the Lions were not, back-to-back winners of the NFC North title and still make the playoffs, that's the only thing that matters. It's a new season at that point. But, I don't think that there's any chance the Bears even come close to sniffing a 500 record this season. And we'll get into more of that, as the season wanes on. We're going to start talking about more NFC North stuff and more NFL news to kind of give us a broad brush, vision of what's kind of happening. But good morning, Illinois MCG. Appreciate you jumping into a Lions podcast. And what else we have in here? So we have Roger Olowski. That's a new name. I haven't at least seen it before. And if you've been in and I haven't seen you, I definitely appreciate you being in. It says, good morning, Will and Eric. Great show. Appreciate the kind words. Looks like it's pretty chilly up where Tracy is, 65 degrees in the morning. John Desage is out golfing this morning. I wish I could still golf. I probably could, but it would take me a minute to get back to my +6 handicap. Those were the days, man. I used to crush the ball, 320, 330. I miss it. I miss golfing. That's it. I mean, there's plenty of great comments in here. Matter of fact, there's Peter Van Larhoven had another question in here. Where did it go? I might have to back it up just a second. Come on, where did it go? You guys got too many messages in here. I gotta find it. I guess I'll come back to it. Go ahead with your next question, Eric.
Well, I got a comment on the chat first. So Illini guy saying bear down. Anytime I hear that phrase, I think of like 2 or 3 different things. Hunting show where the guy shot the bear and he's got a bear down. And then let's see, like a little kid's trying to poop and you're telling them bear down, bear down. That's about the only things I think of when I hear bear down, or somebody hit a bear with a car, you know. So if you're screaming for bear down this year, I can help you out with that. We'll hook you up with some hunting show and they'll take care of that bear for you.
I mean, I could send you some toilet paper.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, we could send him a roll with some Lions logos on it or something. Yeah, he can have fun with that. All right. So Brian Branch is poised for a major breakout in year 2. At least that's what we all think. But a PUP designation to start the year may derail that. Do you believe that Branch starting the year on PUP list will have a major impact on his season?
Say that one more time. I was reading these chats. Sorry.
All right. So do you believe that starting the year on the PUP list for Brian Branch will have a major impact on his season?
I hope not. Look, when he was injured last season, even as a rookie, he came back and played at a high level. You know, he was held out for a couple of weeks. Here's the issue, though. Like, if Brian Branch is trying to get more snaps at safety, as they've, alluded to, that's where the problem, I think, can be created. What do we have? We have roughly 5 weeks of training camp and preseason, I believe is the number. He's going to need to get in more than half of that, I think, to be able to get the full install and have the muscle memory, which is so important for somebody taking over a new position or learning a new position. Him coming in as the nickel, not worried one bit. But if he's going to play any safety at all, I think that's where it could be a little bit slower for him in the beginning to really pop. And to be honest with you, I mean, at safety, yeah, you could have an excellent season, whether it be, interceptions or, coming down in the box and making the stops, in the run game, deflecting passes. I mean, whatever it is, he can have a great season back there at safety, but I really don't believe when he's back at safety, it's going to be as in your face as it was last year with him in the nickel, where he was just making plays everywhere. They were targeting him, and that was a bad idea because he made plays on the ball every single time. So, over-under reaction on this, I'm going to go with, I'd love to split the baby here, but I can't. So I'm going to go with an overreaction on that, meaning that it shouldn't slow him down unless he's going back to safety. So I know it's kind of a 2-part answer, but I would say it's an overreaction that it would be a hindrance that he's not in camp right now. I think that he's fine.
Yep. I think he'll be just fine, whether he gets the reps at safety or not. He played a little safety in college, so I don't think it's that big of a transition for him. And he played a couple plays at safety, if I remember correct, last year also. Okay, so moving along. The Lions have 3 preseason games this year, one each with the Giants, the Steelers, and the Chiefs. Is it an overreaction to think the Lions will win all 3 preseason games, something they have not done yet with MCDC as their coach?
I don't care about preseason. I don't care if they lose every game. We've won every game and then gone 0-16. So Ever since that's happened, I'd rather have them lose every preseason game. Like, I really don't care about preseason. I know it sucks for the fans that are going to be in the stands that just want to watch a win. I mean, there's still something to the ether of that game when, you're all done and you're walking out of the tunnel a winner. But it's preseason. What I want to see from preseason is these second and third and even fourth tier guys playing at a high level and not out there running around confused, like chickens with what. I just want to see these guys play at a high level, make some plays. I don't care about the wins and losses. I don't even know if Dan Campbell cares about preseason wins and losses. I don't know if he's ever made a statement on that. I would say it's probably pretty close to the statement of, you're not going to win in April and May. You know what I mean? I think it's probably pretty close to him, on that.
Yep.
You're not going to win in August either. There's nothing that you're doing in August outside of training. So August and September preseason games, who cares? I just want to see guys play at a high level, and I want to see guys stay injury free. That's the most important to me. So I'm going to go with, the question was, is it an over-under reaction? The Lions win all three. I'm going to go with, I don't know how to answer that. So if I go with the overreaction, that would mean that they're not going to win all three?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll go with the overreaction that they're not going to win all three.
I will as well. And Dan Campbell likes to treat the preseason like a big giant practice. And he really, really enjoys the joint practices, which he is going to do with the New York Giants this year. And if you remember the last couple of years when we do our joint practices, he gets the starters to get all of their work in the practice. And then we get to the preseason game and there's really not much going on. I, for years and years and years, always went to one or two of the preseason games. And I even went to one last year. I went to the preseason game against the Jaguars last year. I took my wife, and we could not believe the crowd at the Jaguars preseason game last year. It was like a regular season game. There was chants and, let's go Lions. And the crowd was just rocking. They were so loud, and it was basically sold out for a preseason game. So the Lions fans, they knew it was coming last year. We really did know what was coming.
So let me throw a couple in here, give you a break for a second. So I've got a couple questions this morning. And if you guys know in the chat, what is my magic number on defense? Can anybody remember what my magic number is? And it's been this way for years now. I have a magic number that the Lions defense needs to keep opposing offenses to a certain number to be able to win a large majority of games. And memory's probably going to serve me wrong, but I want to say in 2022, the Lions gave up like 25.6 points per game, and they were putting up like 26.7 points per game. And then last season, and you internet sleuths can correct me, but I think last season, the Lions gave up 23.5 points per game, and we're putting up 25, 26 points per game on offense. You had about a 3-point separation between offense and defense, which is where you need to be at a minimum. You need to be separated by more than a field goal. And if you look at the top 10 teams from last year, the top 10 defenses from last year, they were holding, the opponent under 20 points. 20 is my magic number. I'm glad to see that some of you guys remember in here. I appreciate that. That means you guys pay attention. 20 points is critical. And that number is going to grow as the offense grows, right? As the NFL continues to shove offense down our throats, then that number is going to grow a little bit. It's commensurate to how the NFL landscape changes with the rules and everything else. So if you go back and look at the teams that won last year at a high level, including the Kansas City Chiefs, they kept opponents under 20 points. So my question is, the Lions defense is under attack a little bit to start the season, right? We've got DJ Reader, Davenport, Branch, potentially Mosley, all kind of, lame ducks right now attending to their injuries or surgery, recovery. So assuming they get back to health and they get better, the question is, Lions over under, finally, in 2024, will keep opposing defenses under 20 points. And that's the whole entire season, averaged. Some games it might be 22, some games it might be 14. As long as it averages out over the season, they keep them under 20 points. If we look at the trend, the Lions are from like 25.7 to like 23. Can they make that next big jump in 2024 from 23 down to 20? That's the question. Over under, Lions keep opposing defenses or opposing offenses under 20 points.
I think they're going to get close, but not quite. It's going to be 21.5 points a game. And I think we're going to be just on the outside looking in there, but it's just enough to be in the top 15. And that's where we need to be, in the 13, 14, 15 range. We don't need to have the top 10 defense in the league to win the Super Bowl. We don't. We have an amazing offense. We just need to be good enough. So in my opinion, we're not quite cracking the top 10. We're going to get close with 21.5. That's my prediction for the year.
Okay. So if we look at, so let me run down this real quick. And you tell me which one of these teams was a bad team from last year. Maybe they didn't make the playoffs. Ravens, points against, 15.5. Chiefs, points against, 15.8. 49ers, points against, 17.1. Bills, 18.1. Cowboys, 18.1. Saints, 18.3. Great defense, did not make the playoffs, I believe. Steelers made the playoffs. They've been a 500 ball club for 2 decades, 18.4. Buccaneers, 18.6. Patriots, 18.9. Raiders, 19.1. Browns, 19.2. Texans, 19.6. Jets, 19.8. And then it cuts off at 14. Packers, 20.1. You could stretch it to the Titans, 20.4, and even the Bears and the Vikings, 20.5 and 20.6. It doesn't go outside of 21 or out of 20 until you get to the Rams at 18 at 21. The Lions were down at 22.1, so that was better than I expected. So the 22.1 to 20. Do you want to change your answer?
Yep. If it's only two, I figured 2 points. I went from 23 to 21. So I'm going to say 20.5 then.
Okay. So I could deal with that. Like, that would be phenomenal. So if you look at all of those teams that were under 20, so let's exclude anyone that was 20 point something. Well, the Packers made the playoffs, but the Texans made the playoffs. Great defense, great offense. The Browns, the Bucks, the Steelers, the Cowboys, the Bills, the Niners, the Chiefs, the Ravens all made the playoffs. Now, you've heard me go both ways on defense versus offense in playoff, Super Bowl, and I say the defense is not winning championships right now. It's offense, and that's true. You still need a good defense. Like, you can't allow teams to just score 3 touchdowns every single game. It's completely asinine to think that you're going to win games if you allow that to happen. If you don't want your offense to have to score, 30 every single game to win, which the Lions have pretty much done the last 2 seasons. They've been putting up almost 30 plus points per game. I don't know what the exact average is, but there was a hot minute there, I believe in 2022. First 6 weeks, we were scoring like 35 points per game and losing every game. That's terrible. And last season, when we went up against the Rams and the Bucks in the first 2 weeks of the playoffs, tough games. Very, very tough games. Like, we barely won those games by like a couple of points.
Yep.
So if we didn't have a high-powered offense, we'd be in trouble, I guess is where I'm getting at, because we couldn't stop a nosebleed. So that's why I wanted to bring this up. So I'm going to go, the over-under question was, over-under, will the Lions keep opposing offenses at 20 points or less? And I'll go as high as saying 20.9 or less, okay? I'm going with the underreaction that the Lions will do it, right? Underreaction, the Lions will do it. I think the overreaction is they wouldn't. Underreaction is that they can. So I'm going to go with the underreaction. I think it's possible. Just the change to the cornerback room alone, if we left everything else the same, I think is enough to take a couple of points off the board. We're talking 1 less field goal per game on average from last season. That's it. That's all we're talking here. My next question. Now, this we've spoken about Aaron Glenn in the same light here. Would Aaron Glenn be the defensive coordinator of the year potentially this season if the Lions were to finish as a top 10 team on defense? So I'll go with that one to start. Aaron Glenn, over under reaction. If he gets the Lions to a top 10 defense, statistically, categorically, overall, everything combined, huge jump in 2024. He finishes as defensive coordinator of the year. Over, under, over. He doesn't. Under reaction, he can.
So when Aaron Glenn came here and had one of his first press conferences, he said that he wanted to go down as the best defensive coordinator the Detroit Lions franchise has ever seen. Has the Detroit Lions, as a franchise, have we ever had a defensive coordinator of the year? I do not believe we have.
No,
we've never had one.
I think we've had I don't even know if they do weekly awards. Coordinator of the Week award. Do they do that?
Well, I remember the one coordinator back in 14-15 season. What was his name? Terrell something. Because he was one that was considered, maybe he'd go on to be a head coach, and he never did. But he's went on to be defensive coordinator for a couple other guys, and he never got it. So for Aaron Glenn to live up to the hype when he was hired, and listen, there are so many people that have been against Aaron Glenn and wanted him fired for the first 2 seasons. And even at the end of last year, I almost gave up hope in the guy, especially blowing a 17-point lead in the NFC Championship game. How do you not make adjustments and so forth? So if he can pull it off and he can be defensive coordinator of the year, then I do believe that he is the best coordinator the Detroit Lions have ever had, and he will prove me wrong and prove all of his doubters wrong. But I just don't know if he can do it this year. Maybe next year, but not this. He'll get close. He'll be second in voting this year, I say.
Okay. Are you on the train that it's an AG no excuses type of season?
It is. Yes.
Okay. Do you believe he's had all the personnel the last few seasons?
No, and that's the reason he's gotten such a long leash.
Okay. All right. I think he could be a great coordinator with the right pieces. I think that as Lions fans, we kind of expected immediate gratification because that's who we are as humans. We want it now, right? We're the kid in the candy store that wants a lollipop that pulls on mom's, jeans and just won't walk out of the store without throwing a temper tantrum because we got to have it now. That's kind of how we've treated Aaron Glenn. And I think that this is a different season for him. I think that he is going to exercise all of the haters, with a phenomenal season. I don't know if he can win defensive coordinator of the year because I think it's tough for the Lions to win anything because of fan, if it's not fan voted, it's really tough. If it's AP, press voted or, I think the NFL execs, coaches, and players vote more for Lions because they respect what they are doing. The AP doesn't respect the Lions, never has. So if it's an AP voted type of an award, he won't win it. Doesn't matter if we have the number 1 defense in the league, he won't win it. So I'm gonna go with the, what did I say? Underreaction is he won't win.
Yeah.
Or overreaction, he won't win. The overreaction, he won't win. Underreaction is he would win if he got the Lions to a top 10. So overreaction, he won't win it, meaning if he gets the Lions to a top 10 defense overall, which is a huge jump, then he won't win it because he just won't. Yeah, he just won't. He doesn't get any respect. I don't have the no respect. I don't think I have it lit up this morning. So my next question, it kind of follows in the same sentiment here. Dan Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Campbell leads this team back to the NFC North Division Championship. Second title in a row. Finished 1 or the 3 seed. I don't think 2 seed's a possibility. I think it's either 1 or 3. Deep run in the playoffs. But before we get there, Lions go at least 13-4 in the regular season again. Over under Dan Campbell wins head coach of the year.
Yep.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
gets it this time. Yep. He had quite a few votes last year. I think this year he gets it. If he can prove that he's consistent and he's a winner and winning in the playoffs, there's no reason he shouldn't get it.
And what are you guys talking about this morning? How did we get onto camel tongue?
Oh, chef's in the chat, isn't he?
He must be. I guess it's better than the other camel tea. All right. My last one, and then, or I got two more, and then I'll kick it back over to you. And then we're going to get into the rest of the news, notes, and rumors and the rest of the show for the second hour here. So over under DJ Reader starts week 1. Over meaning that he does, under meaning he doesn't.
Under.
Yeah, I'm on the under too. I think that we're going to see DJ Reader shelved. And it's not, a slight against him or the Lions. I think that it was expected that he was going to need a little bit more time. I would rather see him put away for 4 weeks to start the season and get healthy. Last one. Over under reaction, fantasy football rosters that we've got to get our butt going on will be affected because of the Lions pup list. Now, that would speak to defense. There's nobody on the offense on that list.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that affects, how people are going to select players or defenses? Do you think anyone's even going to select the Lions defense this year?
Not really. And the thing about defense in fantasy football is they're all disposable. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is every week before the game starts, that's when you pick a defense. You don't pick a defense at the beginning of the year and play that same defense the whole year. Sometimes you can get for fantasy, you'll get like San Fran or the Ravens defense, and you'll hold on to that for most of the year. But you interchange them, you go with the hot hand, and it's the same thing with kickers and defensive players. You go with who the hot hand is, and that is really the rotational part of my roster for fantasy football. It's the bottom in the defensive end, the defensive players. If there's a linebacker for the Texans that gets 4 sacks and 15 tackles one week, that's the dude I pick up off the free agency wire, and that's the guy I'm putting in next week.
Hold on. What fantasy league are you playing where you can select independent defensive players?
Yeah, so in my 2 leagues that I'm in, they're both a little bit different, but you pick a defense, and the one you pick 4 defensive players, and the other one you pick 3 defensive players, and then a kicker. So and then you pick an overall special teams unit. And so the overall special teams is special teams defense. And that's what you get the
I've never seen that before. And as far as defense goes on fantasy, you definitely want to lock in a defense to start the season because they don't become available throughout the season. Like if you don't take the Lions and someone else does, and the Lions are a top 10 defense to start the season, and their turnover ratio is just insane, where they're going to score a lot of points that way. It's not like someone's going to drop the Lions by week 7 or 8 because they had a bye. They're going to try to drop, their second or third tight end or something like that, and then, or their 4th receiver or whatever it is, and then pick up a secondary defense for a week. At least that's been my experience. I don't count on defensive points to win. I count on offensive points to win. Defense is just a bonus if it happens.
I don't select a defense or a kicker until the very last 2 rounds of my draft.
Well, at least I know how you pick now. Thanks.
Hey, I'm back-to-back champion, so I got nothing.
Well, you got to stop playing against 3rd graders, man. Come on.
Dude, I've been in the same league for 15 years, and these guys are serious about it, man. And listen, about 7 or 8 years ago, I started listening to Sirius XM's fantasy football channel, and this time of year, that is all I listen to. And I'm just looking for those hidden gems, the guys no one's thinking about. And then after week 1, week 2, that's where I picked up Puka Nacua. That's where I picked up Sam Laporta.
Man, you got lucky.
all these guys that no one was thinking of. That's where I got my defense and my kicker. And listen, who I start with in the beginning of the season, my team doesn't look anything like that by the end of the season. I am constantly churning my roster. I'm never sticking to the same. And I have a couple little tricks up my sleeve to get guys off of the waiver wire that you might not think are available.
Yeah. Can you do sponsors while I get coffee?
Sure.
All right,
So
we're going to
Sports
take a quick 90. Hold on, we'll do a quick 90-second break here on sponsors, or 60-second break. Sorry, I'll be right back. Eric's going to do sponsors.
All right, everybody.
Oh, hold on. Time out. I don't know what's going on with that screen. Here we go. Oh, and you can't hear Eric. Oh, goodness.
What'd you do?
Apparently I'm missing a file, so if you want to just cover whatever, I'll be right back.
All right. So Sports Spider with a Y. So SPYDER is your one-stop awesome place to get all your sports in one spot. So go to sportspider.com, start a profile, right? So you can make it just like a Facebook page, but instead of seeing everybody's stuff, you can see just the stuff you want to see. So you want to learn about the Lions, you want to see stuff about the Lions, just type in your favorite teams, Detroit Lions. And then you like the Detroit Pistons and you like the Detroit Red Wings. Type those in and you'll see just stories and just articles and videos all about just those sports and nothing else. So get all the best sports, all the insider stuff right there at sportspider.com. And secondly, we have uperlights.com. That's my company. Me, I own it. uperlights.com. What are Uperlights? Well, Uperlights are the newest, most awesome glowing rocks on the shores of Lake Superior and all 5 of the Great Lakes. You use UV lights to go out and look for them at night, and they're a total blast. They're so much fun. You find your first one, your heart just starts racing. You feel awesome, and you just got to find another one. And it is so much fun for you and the whole family. So go to uperlights.com to buy the best UV flashlights and everything you need for rock hounding, whether you're doing it during the day or at night. uperlights.com.
All right. You got everybody covered there?
Yep.
Cool, man. Thank you. I'll have to get this fixed. So I'm working on some new scenes, and I must have deleted it. Trying to change up what the show is going to look like here when we start the season, but keep working on it. So rest of the roster, did you have any more over under you wanted to touch? We got about 3 minutes here before.
Yeah, I got 2 more.
All right, go for it.
All right. With training camp becoming so popular, tickets sold out in under 4 hours. The Detroit Lions, is it an over or under reaction to think that it is time to move to training camp to a larger, newer facility for both players and to accommodate more fans?
Rod Wood's been talking about this for a minute. He started talking about it last year that maybe this will be the last season that they have training camp in Allen Park, that they are looking for property. They're looking for a bigger facility so that they can bring in more fans. So I'm going to say that this is not an overreaction. I would say that it's probably going to happen. I may be mistaken there that he said this could be the last year. I think it would probably take more time than that. It'd probably take a whole year just to build out a new place. I would say it's not an overreaction. I think that the Lions are going to have a new facility at some point. I mean, they've raised ticket prices. They can afford to do this stuff. They need more space. And I think to piggyback on that, is it an over-under reaction that the Lions are going to charge for training camp at some point? And would you pay for training camp at some point?
I'll say this. People are selling the free tickets that they got for training camp already. And I've seen it all over the internet. People are just bashing them and ridiculing them for selling tickets that they got for free. As
they should. Who in the right mind would sell tickets to training camp?
They're for sale.
For how much?
I couldn't tell you, but I've seen posts, people trying to sell them.
I've got like 100 of them. Could I make a quick 10 grand? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, man. Like, come on.
Now, I remember going to training camp when it was up in Saginaw at Grand Valley. And I went to the seasons when it was Bobby Ross and Barry Sanders and Jason Hansen. I was there the day that Barry didn't show up. And I always used to go because I used to live in Mount Pleasant. And that was only, 45 minutes or an hour away from Mount Pleasant. So I got to go to all the training camp practices and I loved it there. And they thought that was too small. And that was a pretty big facility there, had stands for, 5,000 people or so. And that was a really enjoyable time. And I don't know what it's like in Allen Park. I don't know how big it is. I've never been to the Allen Park facility. So I'm really looking forward to the 11th and getting my butt down there and seeing some preseason action.
So Brent DeWitt, training camp was sold out last year. Same thing. It was sold out day one. And sold out means given away. I mean, they people went in and got their free tickets. As far as Allen Park, here's my one request, and I hope that it's not too late. Sheila, last season, you had us walking in next to the dumpsters, and it smelled god awful. Why would you put the entry next to the dumpsters? Like, put the dumpster somewhere else, or move the entry to a different area. Because it was god-awful smell. I mean, terrible smell. Or have the trash picked up or something. Get some new cans brought in, but that was a bad look in my opinion. Like, you got your fans walking into the smell of poo is what it smelled like. It smelled like a bunch of rotting compost is what it smelled like to me. And it was bad. So that's my one request. Fix that, please. Because you had to walk behind it and around it to get to the other side. Training camp was fun. I used to bring my kids to training camp every year, but it was kind of fun when, they only used to have like one set of stands. They didn't have like this VIP area and this private area. No, everyone could kind of go anywhere. They used to bring all of the players into the tents, after practice, before practice, during practice to do autographs. You would line up. I mean, yeah, I've got pictures of Tracy Walker and some other ones, but and even way before that, Hedebo and other players. Training camp was different back then. Like, you could just walk around, do whatever you wanted. You could have a really nice camera with you and taking pictures, and now you can't even take pictures or video or anything. So it's changed. I'm not real sure why they stopped, allowing you to take pictures. And video. Like, I get it. You probably don't want stuff to get out, but are you really doing anything in practice during that hour or two that the rest of the NFL hasn't seen? So training camp's fun. I mean, you're going to pack it out with probably, I don't know, 5,000, 6, 7, 8,000 people. I think it has room for 15. It's fun. It's still fun. It's just different. And I hope that they do what other teams do, and they need to get roofs put over the stands. When you're sitting out there in 95-degree heat in the middle of summer and you have zero shade, like, step it up. Put some covers over the stands. All the other teams do it.
Yeah. I've never been there, so I don't know what it's all about, but gonna learn on the fly, I guess. I didn't know we couldn't take pictures while we were there.
No, you would get kicked out. You can't have your phone out, nothing.
Really?
Yeah, your phone has to be flat like this. It can't be up like that.
Wow.
Yeah, they don't want anything getting out. You can take pictures behind the scenes, with the cheerleaders. There'll be certain areas where there'll be, some special invitees there, older, players coming back around. And you can take pictures over there, but you cannot have your phone out anywhere. They got staff running up and down all over in the stands, making sure that you're not taking photo or video. They'll boot you.
Learned something new today.
Yeah.
All right. So my last question of the day is, as of now, the Lions are favored in 13 of 17 games by Vegas. As the season goes, this could change. Do you think it is an over or underreaction to think the Lions will be favored in more than 13 games?
So as the season gets going and we start to demolish some of these teams,
Yeah, so if we do get out to, like, let's say this 4-0 start, because we're favored in the first 4 games. If we're favored in the first 4 games and we win the first 4 games, do you think we'll still be a 1.5 point underdog to the Dallas Cowboys in week 6 after our bye?
I can't believe that we're an underdog to the Cowboys, first of all. But you know what? I hope it doesn't change. You know why? Because we play better with a chip on our shoulder. So let us be the underdog. Let us be the underdog. I love it.
Now we're the hunted.
Yep, let it happen. Just leave it alone. Matter of fact, don't have us favored in any game. How about that?
There you go.
How about that?
There you go.
So, the pessimistic side of me would say, just who cares, right? But
Yep.
I think that these, favored scores, over under scores, it's only for the betting sites, man. That's all it's for. And you know what? They don't want to make a mistake like they did last year by saying that the Lions weren't favored, and then they go in and smoke show somebody, and Vegas loses a bunch of money. So that's what they're trying to protect now, is the Vegas money. Like I'm not a huge bettor on football or anything, but I do it when I get the free money. I took $50 to about $1,000 last year, then I lost it all. Should have just cashed it out, but they're just trying to protect Vegas here.
In my opinion, I think the Lions are going to end up, because of their win streaks, are going to end up being favored in 16 out of 17 games this upcoming season.
Interesting. All right, so let's get into the rest of the show. Eric, great job this morning bringing in the over-under questions, man. Phenomenal work this morning. So news and rumors around the league. Taylor Decker, we'll start with him. Let me get the main scene back up. So Taylor Decker on news and rumors this morning for Detroit Lions and around the NFL. Taylor Decker contract talks have ceased to exist. Will he finish his career as a Detroit Lion is the question that is now being asked. He is in his last year of his contract. Let me bring up this report. Let me open up this link here. Sideline report. And I apologize, I don't have screen share up this morning, but Brad Behrman put this out at 7 a.m. today and says that things have gone quiet on the Taylor Decker contract front, but it may only be a matter of time before something gets done. So that's the question that I was trying to get back to earlier. I think it was Peter Van Larhoven was asking about Ali McNeil and Taylor Decker and their contract talks. Potentially nothing gets done. We've already started camp, right? The vets report here in a few days. Highly unlikely something gets done between now and the start of the season, but if it does, that would be the window. Once the season starts, forget about it. Ali McNeil has been on record saying he wants to know nothing of contract talks, which is a very, very, very smart thing to do. Don't get involved. You've got an agent for a reason. Let him handle it. You don't want to hear we love Aleem, but man, he's just a little too thick, or he's just a little too slow, or, he's not good at, off the B gap, or, he's getting overpowered by bigger tackles. Aleem doesn't want to hear that. That's going to get into his head, and that will affect him on the field. So separate yourself. This is something that Peyton Manning was probably the best at. He always said he wanted to know absolutely nothing. I was listening to a podcast the other day. This was hilarious. Peyton was talking about this exact thing, and he said that when he was coming out of college, he was told by his agent that there was no upside. That Peyton Manning had no upside as a quarterback. Peyton Manning is one of the best quarterbacks to play in the NFL. But he went on to joke about himself. And this is what he said. He said, no upside, man. He said, look, my forehead still had room to grow. My neck hadn't started growing yet. We still had plenty of room there. Of course I had upside. And he was just, cutting down himself a little bit, trying to be funny there. So he knew that there was 2 areas that he could improve upon. And we all know that he has this giant forehead and very long neck. So it was hilarious that he went with it in that direction. Peyton is probably one of the most, he's just a cool dude. You know what I mean? Like Peyton is just a very rare specimen of an individual. Love everything that he does. Involved in the network or broadcasting and Netflix receiver. I mean, that is Peyton Manning. That is Peyton Manning's work. Netflix receiver is his work. So it's just awesome. Omaha is his company, that does all the work there for films with NFL Films and everything else. But the fact that he started this back then where he didn't want to know anything about contract negotiations is the right way to do it. Just keep yourself out of it. Now, I know some players don't even have agents right now, and they're trying to do things without agents, and that's where relationships get bent, is from that interaction. So back to Taylor Decker here, and back to this article. This is what Decker had to say. He says, I definitely want to end my career here. I would say ultimately for me, this is where I want to be. Of course, you want money. This is great. But for me, I like being here. I love being here. Whatever happens with the contract, I don't know. There's been nothing of substance with negotiations so far. But ultimately, I want to be here forever. 100%, so we will see. The thing that I took out of this is he's ready to give the Lions a hometown discount. He does not want to go anywhere else. He doesn't even care about the money. He just wants to remain a Detroit Lion and finish his career here. And man, I hope he gets a chance to hoist that Lombardi trophy, because that's a dude that definitely deserves it. Now, I know he let up, 9 sacks last year. He had a pretty rough season. He'll have a better season this year. Decker was kind of beat up throughout the season too. But the fact that there's been nothing really going on with contract talks, I'm not surprised. They're probably going to try to do something next offseason with him. Decker wants to be here. So why would you rush to get something done? If he wants to be here, he's going to be here. I doubt that his agent is really going to move him off of the Lions if the Lions have given him some sort of a contract offer that has some substance to it. It doesn't have to be $20, $30 million a year. It could be $10, $12, $14 million a year. And I bet you Decker would sign it. So the problem where agents get involved in this type of stuff is they ruin opportunities for players to finish out their career with one team because they want their 3 or 5%. And, an extra few million is, an extra 500 or extra 50K or whatever it is. So the last quote that I'll talk about, or last couple quotes, is by, let's see, who were the quotes by? Was it Justin Rogers? Might have been Justin Rogers. So Decker's contract status kind of buried in the summer of golf, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Penei Sewell, but it is definitely something that merits attention as it stands. The Lions don't have a viable replacement plan, as rookie Giovanni Manu is a project now on the NFI list who could take multiple years to develop into a potential answer. I've talked to some people in Decker's circle who seemed encouraged by early talks, and I believe Holmes has the intention of keeping the roster's strength intact. I don't know when it happens, but I believe the sides eventually come together on a deal, likely on the shorter side, such as a 2-year pact. I think that that's just fine. Tack on a couple of years to his contract, give him another $30 million or whatever it is. I think Decker would be just fine, and I would much rather see him remain a Lion than not. And the fact that we don't have a good plan is what they're saying. Giovanni Manu might not be ready next year to take over left tackle duties, but Penei Sewell can. And we can put somebody else over on the right tackle where Giovanni Manu could excel because it is not as difficult as a position. It's still difficult, but it's not as difficult as left tackle. What I would say is this: expect the Lions to get out early in the draft next year to be bringing in another tackle. Derek, what do you want? Or Derek, what do you, Eric, what do you want to say on that this morning? I had Decker and Eric put together. What do you want to say this morning on Taylor Decker?
So we had a discussion about this a few months back when Decker did a little press conference. He had off-season surgery, and he's been dealing with an injury since he was at Ohio State. And it had something to do with his foot or ankle. And he finally got a procedure done, and he got it cleaned up. And he said this is the best his ankle has felt since he came out at Ohio State. Right? And he is the longest tenured Lion. He's been here the longest. He's been here for all of it. He's been here for all the downs and some of the ups. And listen, this guy, I know he came from Ohio State and everybody hates Ohio State, but this guy bleeds Honolulu blue and silver. He is going to end his career here with the Lions. I don't care if he signs a free contract. This guy is going to play in some capacity or form until he retires. And he doesn't want to retire yet. He wants to be there when they hoist that Lombardi trophy. He wants to be there for the ultimate ending. He wants to be the guy that can be like John Elway, win the Super Bowl and ride off into the sunset. Wouldn't that be the great ending to this career where it's been lose, win, go off into the sunset? So I think it would be amazing for Decker to finally get that reward for all the hard work he's put in all these years. And you never know. Maybe this year he'll have an incredible Pro Bowl season. That's something he's never done. He's never had a Pro Bowl. So, hey, he gets a Pro Bowl this season. Maybe he gets a little raise next year for that little contract that he'll sign for 1 or 2 years. Wouldn't that be amazing?
I mean, I guess I would look at it a little bit differently. One, we know this. People that win, they never retire.
Yeah.
They always come back for another one. It's just ingrained in all of us, that if you win, you're going to come back and you're going to fight again. He's still young enough. Now, obviously, he's a dad. He's probably thinking of family. He's been in the league, a decade or so. He's looking to win, but he's not looking to win somewhere else. He's had a phenomenal career. He's set to make 19-1 this year as a cap number, which pales in comparison to the top, left tackle or right tackle contracts. I mean, look what Penei Sewell just got.
But back when he signed his contract, wasn't he one of the top paid left tackles in the league?
Yeah, he was the top paid left tackle for a hot minute, and then the other ones that followed obviously continued to break the bank. So when I look at his contract, he's made $14 million in 22, 19.3 in 23, 19.1 in 24. He has a $3.9 million void year next season. So he's got about $23 million on the books right now. And if you were to look at paying him another $19 million next year, it could be done. Like, that would be a fair contract. I don't think it's going to be that much. I really don't. I think that he'll probably sign a 2-year, $30 million deal when the deal gets done. I think it'll give a little bit of a hometown discount. I would definitely say that Taylor Decker's worth $15 million a year or more. With the way that the salary cap is going up and how much these guys are getting paid, he's still a top 15 left tackle in this league. I would say that he's probably a top 10 when he's fully healthy. Could be even better. He just had a bad season last year, but you know what? Look, how many offensive formations have we put in the last 2 seasons? 18 different offensive formations have entered a game for the Detroit Lions. Roundabout number, it's not exact, but it's about 18 in the last 2 seasons. That is a ton. The fact that you don't know who you're playing next to from week to week to week, that is what hurts a left tackle or a right tackle when you're constantly installing a new guard. Graham Glasgow had to bounce around everywhere. Jonah Jackson was out quite often last season. And when you work with someone long enough, you depend on that individual. Everything that individual does in certain situations. You have to have that symmetry between you. So, or that synergy between them. And they just, he's had to deal with that the last couple of seasons. So I think his play was affected by that. But now, we're coming to a point where Graham Glasgow is going to be there the next 3 seasons. He obviously feels comfortable with Graham Glasgow. So you put another 2-year deal, match it up with Graham Glasgow. You'll still have Penei Sewell around. Then the only question is Frank Ragnow going to stick around for another 2 seasons? And then what are you doing at right guard? We got Manu, Mahogany. Both of those guys could end up being, our next guard or tackle backup. Our next guard, Kobe Sorsdahl, Unless he makes a significant jump in year 2, probably won't be ready to take over for Taylor Decker or the right side, if Penei Sewell moves to the other side. So keep him around, but we still have to go out and draft somebody. I would rather go out and draft another first or second round pick early next year. Draft somebody early next year to put in the pipeline and be ready to go at a moment's notice. Final words on Taylor Decker? Anything?
I think Taylor Decker has given his life to the Detroit Lions, and he deserves another contract. He really, really does. But I understand the Lions being in wait and see mode, especially with their cap. Brad Holmes right now is working on all those contracts for all those other guys, so he's got to fit it in somewhere. He's got a big board with, okay, this guy's worth this much to this much. This guy's worth this much to this much. And, he's got a pie chart with how much he's going to have, how much they predict they're going to have for next year. And, you got Aiden coming up. You have Aleem McNeil coming up. You have all these other contracts that are going to have to get done. And then if one of these guys that you sign to a 1 or 2 year contract, let's say Zettler comes in and he's a Pro Bowler and an All-Pro this year, do you just let him walk? Did the Mahogany kid look good enough to come in behind him, or Sorsdahl or somebody else? So he's got a lot of things to think about on his little whiteboard in the office, and it's going to come down to what does he do this year. And I think the Lions are just taking a wait and see approach, but I don't think they're going to shun him and make him ride off into the sunset before he wants to.
As far as Taylor Decker goes, got to keep him around. I'm not sold on what we have behind him. So we have Dan Skipper, Coyote Iwasika, who played guard last season, but Dan Skipper's about the only other tackle that has had significant time, but he's always been kind of that extra guy, He's like the extra guy in the movie set. And I don't mean that as a negative, but he has not really had significant time at either left or right guard or left or right tackle. I think that this is probably Skipper's last season with the Lions. If the Lions do go out and draft another tackle next season, I think this could be the last hurrah for Skipper. I think the Skipper is going to make the roster right now, but we'll see where that goes. So over the weekend, Dan Campbell corn maze. So in Michigan, I can't remember exactly where this was. So let me pull it up. I wonder if you can go visit it.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I don't know if you can go visit it. Unless you have a copter, or something like that, little drone, you probably wouldn't be able to really notice it from the ground. I don't think, but Williamston, Michigan. I don't even know where that is. But they unveiled a new fall challenge this week with an epic aerial photo. The maze is a depiction of the Lions head coach Dan Campbell wearing a hat that reads grit. While surrounded by a lion's mane, one pride, go Lions, is all spelled at the bottom of the maze. And if you guys haven't seen it, I could probably throw something up.
When I saw it, I thought it was AI. I didn't even think it was a real deal.
There you go. So there you go. There's your head coach, Dan Campbell, in Williamston, Michigan, in a corn maze. Now, they did say that it was a attraction or something in this. Let me see here.
I might have to go there next week.
Yeah, I thought that they said that you could visit it.
Really? I would go for sure. I have a drone. I'd check it out.
Well, we'll have to get back to you on that. I thought I read in here it said a fall challenge. I don't know what that means. Does that mean that you can go and try to get through it? I guess possibly. I don't know. I'll try to figure that out.
Let's go get lost in the Dan Campbell maze.
What's that?
Let's go get lost in the Dan Campbell maze.
Yeah, that'd be funny, right? So news and rumors around the league in the NFC North. The Packers extended defensive lineman Kenny Clark's contract for 3 years, $64 million, with a $29 million due in 2024. So that means that they just ate up a lot of what they had left in cap. The Cowboys are also reportedly looking to extend Dak Prescott before he becomes a free agent next spring. I don't think that's really news. I think that's just been the kind of the underlying story here is they're trying to get something done. But I look, if they're not going to give Dak a contract this year, he walks. I think Dak is gone out of the Cowboys. I think he's done. So Kenny Clark, in a podcast this past weekend, it was the Green Light podcast. I cannot remember that guy's name for the life of me. Not Chris Long, but the other one. And not his brother either. So they were talking with Frank Ragnow about who is, the up and comer defensive lineman that, he's had challenges with or feels is a great player. And he mentioned Kenny Clark. So Kenny Clark obviously terrorized the Lions last year in the second game on Thanksgiving. This is no surprise that Kenny Clark has been extended with the Green Bay Packers, so we're going to have to put up with him for the next few seasons. Roster moves around the league. The Texans are reportedly signing former Rams and Vikings running back Cam Akers. The Ravens have agreed to a one-year deal with former Chicago Bears safety Eddie Jackson. And Roquan Smith is said to have encouraged the Ravens to sign him. The Chiefs also placed safety Justin Reed on the NFI list. The Packers also put Jaden Reed and two others on the same list. In other news, the Jacksonville Jaguars are suing a former employee for allegedly stealing $22 million from the team. How do you have a bank error that badly on your books? Like you just didn't know $22 million was missing? The Jaguars are also breaking out their Prowler jersey for the 2024 season. I have not seen this yet. I'm not sure what that looks like, but interested to see. And then, of course, Rookies Report. That's what we're going to talk about next. Rookies Report. Anything you want to discuss on the other news, NFL news, and roster moves before we move on?
Just that Kenny Clark, he basically won that Thanksgiving Day game for the Packers. And the guy is good. He really, really is. And when he's on, he's on. When he's off, he's kind of off. So the first game against the Lions, he was off. The second one, he was on. And I just have to wonder how the heck are they going to get the deal done with Love? Because they want to get Love done so bad.
Do they?
Yeah, maybe they don't. But I know he wants it done. And he's asking, I heard 280 or 285 million is the numbers that have been thrown around for Love.
What, over 10 years?
Yeah, I don't know. So,
Jesus.
Come
on, Love. You haven't done anything, dude. You've been a flash in the pan, man. You had...
And half of the season was horrible and half of it was great. So if you go back to, let's say, after the Lions game, after week 4 last year, when we demolished them, right? We beat them by 14. If you go back and you look at Facebook from that week or social media anywhere, and you go to a Packer fan site, they are all saying, what a waste Jordan Love was. Can we please put in the backup? They were all screaming for someone else at quarterback. This guy sucks. He sat behind Rodgers for 3 years and didn't learn anything. This guy's horrible. He's not going to amount to anything. Their fans literally turned on him after week 4 when the Lions demolished him. Turned on him. All I heard was that Love sucked and they wanted somebody else because their season was tanking. They were going downhill. They were going nowhere fast. And then he has a couple good games and they start to believe just a little bit. And then he has that run at the end of the season, gets him in the playoffs and wins a playoff game. And now he's the savior of the Packers. Well, I don't know as you can give that guy this big giant contract off of one half of one season. Yes, it was an amazing half. Oh, but man, you better be sure. You better be sure when it's coming to that much money. At least the Lions have 3 seasons of Goff and multiple seasons while he was with the Rams to look back on and see what this guy can do and what he can't do before they gave him the big contract. So are the Packers giving love a contract like that shooting themselves in the foot.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see where that one goes. I don't see how they would want to extend him. Like, let the kid play another season. I know he's on an expiring deal, but I still think they have the franchise tag available to them.
They do.
Which may make more sense to then get a deal done. But quick shout out to Trace. Trace says that we're still about 20 likes behind from our daily goal of 50 likes. Now, our overall goal every show is over 100. So the algorithm helps us big time. And just so you guys know, I don't turn on ads for the morning show for the entire time, expecting that people would like the show. I mean, you're here, you're watching, give it a like. That's what helps us the most. If we can't get to our goal every morning show by the 9 o'clock hour, I got to start turning on the ads, because there's only two ways that this helps us with our overall goal. And that's either we get the likes that spin us further into the algorithm to help more Lions fans reach our content, or the ads will help us so that we can do promotions and promote our content to be able to get it out to more Lions fans just like yourself. So do us a favor. We don't ask for much, just a like. And then, of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel and you're here watching every single day, over 45% of the people that consume this channel's content have not subscribed, but they come back every single day. So my question would be, why? Just turn on the subscribe button, turn on some notifications, get notified when we're going live or when we're dropping videos. We don't do the bad content, the content that, it's clickbaity or anything like that. So we're all about Lions fans. It's a Lions fan driven channel by a Lions super fan or two here. And just help us out. Give us a like, share it, tell your friends. Let's get ready for an amazing season together. So rookies report. Let's get into that. Rookies reported this weekend. Not a whole lot coming out of Allen Park with the rookies because the media is not there until I believe Wednesday. So there's just not a whole lot going on here. And there's not really a lot to report. I guess the only thing that I would say, is the rookies kicked off their journey finally at Allen Park on July 20th, ahead of the veterans who will join on July 23rd, just one more day away. This marks the beginning of a critical period where these young players will finally start to get a look by the coaches and make an impression on the coaches and start to secure their roster spots. There's no doubt in my mind right now that the rookies that the Lions drafted will make this roster. There's no doubt in my mind. The question is the UDFAs. Who is going to have the biggest impact on the head coach and the positional coaches throughout this training camp to make this roster? And if we want to take a look at some of the UDFAs that are on the Lions roster right now, let me pull that list back up. I would say that there's probably two that we really need to watch out for. And maybe give them a little bit more respect than what they've been given, or at least what I've given them so far this season. Haven't spoken about them a whole lot. And that would be the wide receiver, Isaiah Williams. Isaiah Williams, even though he's only 5'9", 179, the guy has speed. He caught 82 passes last season for 1,055 yards in college for the Fighting Illini. He's quicker than he is in straight line speed. So he reminds me of Amon-Ra to a degree, where even though Amon-Ra ran a terrible 40 time, I think it was like 4.5, the guy is quicker in lateral agility or short area bursting quickness. He puts on a display of speed that helps him get separation. That's what this game's all about, is separation. You give Goff that window, he can put the ball in your chest. And he caught over 200 passes for 2,295 yards and 14 touchdowns in the past 3 seasons. One of the best to get separation, for the Fighting Illini, and of course, throughout the NC2A. He was second in the Big Ten with 17 catches of 20-plus yards last season, largely due to large yak numbers. So largely due to his yak numbers. Big time producer after he touches the ball. So I would look out for Isaiah Williams to be on the outside looking in, potentially as the 6th wide receiver if the Lions decide to keep 6. Could even be the 5th. Will he beat out somebody like a Khalif Raymond? I don't think so. But that's the comparison that we have for him right now, is he's more of the Khalif Raymond size, but does he have the Khalif Raymond dog? The other guy who's starting to grow on me, Morris Norris, cornerback out of Fresno State. Norris has experience playing both nickel corner and safety. With Brian Branch still sidelined, Morris Norris is going to get a bigger look here throughout training camp. He was named second all-team All-Mountain West last season after starting in all 13 games and finishing with 59 tackles, 42 of which were solo, 9.5 tackles for loss. That's big time. When you see a cornerback or safety getting 9.5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, pull down 2 interceptions and 10 pass breakups, that's big time. So I want to see this kid. According to Chef, he was practicing with Deron Bland this offseason. Now, I don't know if it was last week, the week before, or when it was, but Deron Bland, I mean, he pulled down, 6 pick sixes this last season? I think he had 9 interceptions altogether or something like that. Deron Bland had a hell of a season for the Cowboys. Keep your eyes out for Morris Norris. He did not excite me, like I said, about a week and a half ago or so in the 53-man roster show, which we're going to redo because we had terrible audio. So we'll redo that show probably this week. Morris Norris, Isaiah Williams, keep your eyes out for him. Last on this list for me, where was it? Well, we know Steel Chambers is gone. Wide receiver Jelon Calhoun out of Duke. So Calhoun played for the Blue Devils for 5 seasons. He started as a freshman in 2019, played in 61 games over that span, turned up 3,000 yards, scored 17 TDs. He had his best season in 2022 when he caught 62 passes for 873 yards. Just another guy on the outside looking in. So the UDFAs, we know that Brad Holmes has a keen eye for talent. So keep your eyes out for these guys. They're going to be names that might be called quite a bit this preseason, and seeing what they do in some of these preseason games. Anything you'd like to add to that portion of Rookie's Report?
Sure. Lions fans, please do me a favor. Don't get too overly excited about UDFAs and people that have big breakouts in the preseason. Every season, Tom Kennedy comes on like no other in the preseason and ends up doing nothing in the regular season. So just try to temper your realizations and what your expectations are for these UDFAs. Not too many UDFAs become, Pro Bowl starters in the NFL, especially for the Lions. I don't know if we've ever had a UDFA come on and be a Pro Bowler for the Lions. So temper your expectations. Yes, 1 or 2 of them will make the roster or make the practice squad. And it's really fun to root for these guys. Just remember, don't get too excited for them.
All right. Give me 1 second. I got to send a text to somebody I got to go pick up all these helmets that just got signed.
Fun.
I'll finally have them this week.
Nice.
That way we can get, there's a few winners that are still owed some helmets. I'll get them this week, get them sent out. All right. So next up here on Rookies Report, there's going to be a lot more information coming out Wednesday. Like, it's going to be jam packed on the interwebs once, insiders are able to be there. Giovanni Manu. So I was really disheartened to see Giovanni Manu end up on the NFI list.
Yep.
Let me try to explain this, because I think that there's been some confusion. There's been a couple other channels that have reported some things, and then some questions came in last night. So the question was, what happened? Like, why is he on an NFI list when he was practicing, in OTAs and minicamp? The best way I can explain this is, if he was healthy then, Okay, and he was practicing with the team, which he was. He wasn't held out for any reason. What happened? Well, NFI is non-football injury, so it could be illness, it could be an injury that happened away from the team, or it could be an injury that happened while in college, so before the draft. Well, if he was healthy to start spring, and then you go away from the team for a few weeks before you have to report, something happened. Whether he's got an illness or an injury, whatever it is, that is the NFI component to this. Could that mean that he's going to be held out for a large portion of the season? We just don't know. We don't know right now. So we're going to have to put our ears to the ground here and get some answers from the insiders this week to find out, what's going on with Giovanni Manu. I know a lot of people have said, well, does it really matter? He was a project like Broderick Martin. Yeah, I mean, it matters because he needs all the time to get up to speed. The more time he has in training camp, surrounded by Penei Sewell and Frank Ragnow and Taylor Decker and Graham Glasgow on the field, the quicker this guy is going to get ready to be able to fill into a backup role for this offensive line. Now, if this injury would carry him through a large portion of the season or whatever's going on, obviously that wouldn't be good for his development. I think that's the key word here is, yeah, he was a developmental player. Some have lumped him into the Broderick Martins of the world as a developmental player. But if Manu is held out for any extended period, that means that, well, he may not help us a whole lot this year. He could end up being sidelined the entire year. He could stay on the NFI list just like Hendon Hooker was until the last 6 games of the season. And then, the Lions obviously don't want to toll his contract and allow him to accrue a season of NFL eligibility. They would have to reactivate him, put him on the 53-man roster the last 6 games of the season. I just don't see that happening. Don't know much about what's going on with Manu, but I wish him the best. I hope he's okay. And hopefully we get some answers. I'm going to try to send a message out to one of the insiders today and see if they know anything that I can actually report on. Otherwise, I'll wait for them to do their job and let us know what's going on. So that's really it for Rookies Report. I mean, we've got a heck of a bloodbath that's about to start, and we have probably 3 rookies that could really do some damage this season and get significant playing time. Ennis Rakestraw, special teams, he'll get a lot of action. Sione Vake, special teams, he's going to get a ton of action. Terrion Arnold, don't really see him playing a ton of special teams. I don't think the Lions want to risk an injury there. He should get a ton of starting opportunities at the very outset. Now, we didn't do an over-under on Terrion Arnold, but I guess we'll throw one in now. Eric, over-under Terrion Arnold starts week 1. And doesn't let it go. So obviously I'm going with the over on this. He's going to start. I think that he's going to get a lot of playing time. I think that Amik Robertson is going to push the heck out of him. And we're in a good situation. That's all I can say is we're in a great situation right now with the minor amount of injuries that we're seeing on the field or start training camp. We're in a great situation. Let's just hope it's as bad as it gets right now. So go ahead, take it away in your comments on Rookies Report.
Yeah. So the first thing with Manu, really simply, is it could be something super simple. Maybe he clipped his toenail too short. I'm serious. Maybe he pulled a hamstring while he was doing workouts at home. Something really simple that's just going to take a week or 2, and he can come right back. You can be on the NFI list for a day. You can be on it for 4 days. You can be on it for 4 weeks. So it could be something really simple that we just don't know about. Maybe he pulled a muscle or something, and it could be something really simple where it's just enough to keep him out of practice. So don't fear the worst yet. We don't know what's going on. Second, Terrion Arnold. In my opinion, Terrion Arnold was the best cornerback in the draft. I liked him better than the kid that the Eagles took. And I predicted that he would be a day one starter right the second that we drafted him. And I still believe that. And everything he's doing is just proving it to me. OTAs, all of his offseason workouts, everything he says, the way he carries himself, his attitude, everything screams absolute day one starter for the Detroit Lions.
Lion Eye says maybe jock itch.
Hey, it could be. You don't know. Something simple.
What's crazy is, we are all up in arms over, and I didn't report on this morning. Hopefully you guys all saw the video, the breaking news video that I did on Amon-Ra St. Brown. So it's the Lions are potentially under the NFL eye right now for a penalty with Amon-Ra St. Brown in his injury in week 3 that was not reported. Now, he was put on the injury report week 5, played in week 4, but the Netflix series, the reason why I'm going into this is the whole jock itch thing just made something else pop in my head. So I was more intrigued by the fact that he had hand, foot, mouth disease last season. Mm-hmm. To me, that should have kept him out of a game because it is so incredibly contagious. I don't even know how you get it. And the only thing I could think of is, please tell me you wash everything, including your body. I don't know how you could end up with that. I don't even know where it comes from. I haven't done any research on it. I should probably ask the people in my family that are in medical, how do you get hand, foot, mouth disease? But the fact that he played through that, I would be more worried of catching that from somebody than anything else that happened with Amon-Ra St. Brown last year. I don't even know if he was put on an injury report for that, but very weird set of circumstances. I don't even know if you can get in trouble from the NFL for playing with a contagious disease. Like, that's another one. Like, is that going to totally derail us? The fine that the Lions should receive is about $100,000 for Amon-Ra St. Brown. They set the precedent last year. I reported all that. I think, was it Friday night or Saturday night, whatever day it was. And then the next day I saw some more articles coming out where they were talking about Atlanta Falcons and the precedent that was set. So whether they watched my video, reported the same thing or not, it doesn't matter to me. I'm glad that the information is consistent. That's what we should expect. Is it a $100,000 fine between the Lions and the ownership? The Lions organization and the ownership is what we would expect. So not sure if Dan Campbell's going to get a fine or not, but we'll find out. Lions defense is going to be fine. Oh, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to give my opinion on this. I think the Lions should be forgiven. They shouldn't get a fine whatsoever. And here's why. Because the NFL and Netflix both didn't put a single mention of that Dallas game. That debacle with the refs at the end of that Dallas game wasn't mentioned at all on receiver. So the NFL and Netflix should get a fine for $100,000 for not putting it in there. They wanted to cover up their debacle. They don't want anybody to know about it. They want everybody to forget about it. That was awful. The Lions should have won that game. The Lions did win that game. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, they should have said something. They're trying to hide the truth, man. They don't want any more. They don't want any more drama from that. I think that they're really trying to run away from it. If you're on Facebook, check out the QR code. Join us on Rock Down Detroit Lions. We've got some new content popping up. We're going to start steering the ship in a different direction with content to keep you guys engaged throughout the season. Quick notes on the Lions defense. Look, the Lions defense is going to be fine. I know that there's been quite a few people that are worried about the PUP list and the NFI list. Look, we still have like 4 or 5 weeks, of preseason and training camp. Should be plenty of time for these guys to get back to the field. If DJ Reader doesn't start the first 4 weeks of the season, so be it. Davenport better. He better be ready to go. Brian Branch should be ready to go. At least that's my expectation. I don't know specifically from a medical standpoint where they are in their progress. That information will be coming out over the next 3, 4, 5 weeks as we start getting through training camp. Defense is going to be fine. We finished right around 20th last year in total defense. 27th-ish or close to as last as possible in passing defense. Those numbers are going to improve. I think that we're expecting the Lions to have a significant jump in defensive play this season. Top 10 is what we're expecting. I don't think that anyone is expecting for us to be a top 5 defense, but top 10. Like, if we could get there, that would be incredible. But even getting us to a top 13, 14 defense, you can win a lot of games. And that would have been the deciding factor last season in a few games had the Lions had a better defense overall, especially in the passing defense. That passing defense has to get into the top 15. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Has to get into the top 15. That was definitely a deciding factor in the NFC Championship game. Cannot be ignored. Lions have to get their butts together on that one. Mailbag question. What's that?
I got a question for you, Will.
Yeah.
So what you were just talking about just now,
Mm-hmm.
how many games did the Lions lose last year by 3 or less points? NFC Championship game is 1. We only lost by 3 points. So
lose or win by 3 points, I guess, would probably be the question.
Yeah. So like if our defense could have stopped them for 3 more points, that puts it at 31-31. What happens at the end of that game or overtime?
Let's take a look. So we open up the season against the Chiefs. We only won by 1 point.
Yep.
Right. The next week we lost by 6 points to the Seahawks. The week after that, we smoked the Falcons. The week after that, we smoked the Packers. The week after that, we smoked the Panthers. Then we smoked the Bucs. Then we got killed by the Ravens. Then we smoked the Raiders. We barely beat the Chargers by 3 points, 41-38. So there you go. There's your defensive struggles right there. We had a big lead on the Chargers. Second half collapse again. Matter of fact, what happened in the Chargers game is probably exactly what the San Francisco 49ers looked at and did exactly what they did to come back in that second half of the 49ers game. I don't know if anyone's made that comparison yet. Maybe we'll try to put a video together. I'm going to start memberships in the next week or two, and we're going to do stuff like that where we can look at highlights and things of that nature behind the scenes, so YouTube doesn't yell at me. Lions beat the Bears by 5. Then the next week, the Packers beat us by 7. Lions beat the Saints by 5, and then the next week the Bears beat us by 15. Lions smoked the Broncos, and then we beat the Vikings by 6. Of course, the Cowboys game, we won that game, but we lost by 1, technically. So when you look at it, barely beat the Rams in the playoff game by 1. We beat the Bucs by 8 in the second playoff game, and then we lost to the 49ers by 3. So not a whole lot of games. I think there's less than 3 games that were decided by 3 points or less.
Yeah.
In either direction, or maybe 4 games. It was 3 points or less. Good question though. So mailbag questions. We did not have a ton of mailbag questions, but I think the one that I wanted to answer. I think I got like 6 questions in here, but the one that I really wanted to go through, and this might put us over the 10 o'clock hour. Are you okay or not?
Yep.
Okay. Breakout stars for the Lions at training camp. The breakout stars. I kind of touched on this a little bit, so let me try to run through it. Who are going to be the Detroit Lions' potential breakout stars, or darlings, as some of the other information has come out online, with articles that they call them darlings. That was kind of in the question. They had darlings and stars put together. So here's my answer. As the Detroit Lions gear up for the 2024 season, training camp is really set to kick off tomorrow, right? We get everybody in-house tomorrow. Things are going to get rolling. And this is where the anticipation of identifying these standout performers who could potentially make a significant impact begins. So these training camp darlings or potential breakout stars often rise from relative obscurity to become key players for their respective NFL teams. Now, here are some candidates, in my opinion, that are poised to break out this season, but let's look at seasons past first. What have we seen? And how did it translate? In seasons past, we've seen players like Zach Zenner, Tom Kennedy, Chase Cota, Starling Thomas, Stephen Gilmore, Malcolm Rodriguez, and others that popped off the page in training camp and the preseason, and then very few made the roster or even made significant contributions throughout the season. Last season, we lost Starling Thomas to the Cardinals after he was let go in the final days of cuts. Tom Kennedy has kind of stuck around after more, get this, 21 transactions with Tom Kennedy during his NFL career with the Detroit Lions. By the way, all 21 transactions, Detroit Lions transactions. Coda is currently on injured reserve with the Giants, with Gilmore and Rodriguez still on the Detroit Lions roster. They are battling for spots here in 2024. But these are not the guys that we are talking about just yet. Let's get into the Lions roster bubbles and breakouts, is what I call it, or break-ins in 2024. Wide receiver, Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams is a first-round pick from 2022. He's kind of had a rocky start to his NFL career, battling injuries and a 6-game suspension in 2023. However, we saw his raw talent and potential to be a game changer and really remain undeniable that the fact that he has so much speed. And then with a full offseason this season, again, to really hone his skills and build chemistry with quarterback Jared Goff, Williams is really in a prime position right now to emerge as a standout receiver in the Detroit Lions offense. I don't think that there is one Detroit Lion fan on the planet right now that is not hoping that Jameson Williams can finally put it together in his third season. If we take what Brad Holmes says to heart, don't judge my players till season 3. I'm going to hold you to that, Brad Holmes, and it starts this season with Jameson Williams. 30 seconds. Eric, what do you got on JMO?
This is it. It is put up or shut up time. Fans are tired of the injury, the suspension, the antics with fireworks, all the stupid stuff. Some fans really go overboard on it. I don't. But this really is put up or shut up time. Either he's going to be an all-pro or he's not. And for where we drafted him and what we have invested in him and what we need to invest in him, because his numbers are only going to grow for what we have to pay him over the next couple of years. And this is year 3. And then we're going to have year 4. And in year 4, we have to make a determination whether we're going to pick up that 5th-year option on J-Mo or not, because he was a first-round pick. So this year is going to go a long way to determining whether we should pick up that 5th-year option or whether we should just let him play out year 4 and say, see ya, and let him go somewhere else.
So it's put up or shut up on J-Mo from Eric. All-pro is a huge one. I think that's a little heavy. And what I mean by that is it's very difficult to be an all-pro in the NFL. So I don't know if I would go that far. I think I know what you're saying, though.
Maybe
you want to see him play at his potential.
Yes.
And where he was drafted. So the next one. To me, this one is not really one that I have much concern about, but cornerback Brian Branch. So drafted in the second round of 2024 second round of the 2023 NFL draft. Brian Branch brings versatility and a high football IQ to the Lions secondary. He's known for his ability to play multiple positions in the defensive backfield. Branch has the potential to secure a starting role again this season. His performance during training camp, now getting through this injury, will be critical in determining how quickly he can adapt to the NFL and contribute to Detroit's defense at a much higher level. What I mean by that is they're cross-training him, between safety and nickelback. There's not a position that he can't play. I don't feel like this is one that is really a roster bubble or a breakout. It's more of a break-in my position. I think that he's going to break into this defense again in 2024 and become a staple for this defense for many years. Brian Branch could be the best draft pick that Brad Holmes has ever taken to date. Yes, above Aiden Hutchinson. Yes, above Jameson Williams. Yes, above all of the other guys to date. Brian Branch, before 2024, could be that guy. Terrion Arnold may be the next. Sam Laporta could be right there in a close second or third. Those are the three guys that I feel are the best picks so far. And I'm not saying anything negative about Aiden. I just think that Brian's ceiling is that much higher. Anything you want to add to Brian Branch? 30 seconds, Eric.
Brian Branch is going to be fine. Even Chris Spielman said that he's probably going to go down as the best draft pick ever by Brad Holmes. So he'll be just fine. There's one little comment in the chat that I want to talk about. Roger Chappis put, Will and Eric, you do know that it's always okay with us if your Rise and Grind show goes over the 10 a.m. time. This content always keeps us Lions fans connected. Well, I'm going to tell you, Roger. So Tuesday through Friday, my shop opens at 10 o'clock. So some days I have to be in there by 10 and some days I don't. So some days I can go over, some days I can't. So that's why we have the 10 a.m. spot.
Yeah, and we might be changing times. I come up with a pretty wild idea on how to do the morning show that will help, fit everybody's schedule. So I'll update you if we put it in play this year. There could be a potential for it. We might extend to 3 hours. So we'll keep that on the back burner for now. Next guy, Josh Pascal. This is, to me, a roster bubble / breakout. Drafted in the second round, 2022, right? No, 2021. Was he drafted in 22 or 21? Now I'm forgetting. 21, yeah. Brian, I'm sorry. Let me back up here. Drafted in the second round of the 2021 NFL draft, Josh Pascal, entering his third season with the Detroit Lions. Now, he showed some flashes of brilliance during his rookie season, but injuries quickly kind of took over for him. The coaching staff clearly has high hopes for Pascal, expecting him to take a significant leap forward in 2024. He's got a great combination of size, strength, speed, agility, all of the intangibles that you would want in a player off the field, on the field. He can be a formidable presence on the defensive line. He really can be. But will he be? That's the question that we're trying to answer on Josh Pascal. A strong training camp and preseason. I'm expecting to see a lot of him in preseason. Could see where he finally turns it around to solidify his role as a key pass rusher, or at least someone that can hold it down in the run game for the Detroit Lions. But this is kind of that roster bubble breakout season for Pascal. I want to see him finally put it together. It's season 3. It's or get off the pot. So either bear down or jump up. It's time to go. 30 seconds on Josh Pascal, Eric.
I think this is very similar to the JMO situation, where even a little different maybe, but where Pascal, he needs to be more than just serviceable. He needs to be a breakout player in the preseason and in training camp. He really needs to get it going. For him to stay on this roster, I think he needs to be more than just a mid player. He needs to really bring it on in this season, because this is put up or shut up. He's done this year. If he doesn't get it going, he may be released during camp. And for a second rounder, that's a sad thing to think about.
So I'm going to throw this comparison on this next guy to Jamison Williams. And so when you guys think about why some of us are pretty critical on Jamison Williams, or have been over his first couple of seasons, it's because of this next guy, Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, he did have a quasi-breakout season last year. Like, he was playing at a clip last season that was undeniable. Definitely not a roster bubble, but this is a break-in candidate that is really going to take this offense to new heights here in 2024, Jahmyr Gibbs. When you compare him to a player like Jamison Williams, both selected at number 12, that's why I have a hard time with JMO. Because you saw what Jahmyr Gibbs was able to do in his first season. That's what you're expecting out of a first-round, number 12 overall pick, is what we saw in Jahmyr Gibbs. So that's what we're expecting, JMO. Like, that's the type of talent that you have. It just has to be realized on the field. So when I'm hard on him, it's because I'm comparing him to guys like Jahmyr Gibbs and other guys that have been taken, in the top 12 position. So Jahmyr Gibbs, selected in the first round of 2023, number 12 overall, clearly known for his explosive speed. Heard Ifeatu Melifonwu say yesterday on a podcast, question was asked, when did you know about Jahmyr Gibbs and what he was able to do. And he said, man, that speed that Jahmyr Gibbs was electric. It was different. You could tell. But it took him 3, 4, 5 games, finally breaking out in that 5th game to show us that he had it, and then he just never let it go. So if Yatu Melifonwu looked at Jahmyr Gibbs from, man, he's got it from day one, just took him a minute to get it. Now, it only took him a few games. JMO, it's taken him 2 years. So it's time to see all of the hype, turn into something other than hype. Let's see it be success on the field. So Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously known for explosive speed and versatility. He's expected to make an immediate impact in 2024, both as a running back and a receiver out of the backfield. We did not get to see a lot of the hype for the receiver of Jahmyr Gibbs last season. Training camp is again going to be critical for Gibbs this season to demonstrate his ability to transition to really into a receiving threat, I guess is where I'm trying to go with this, and carve out a significant role in the passing game. Clearly, I believe it's 60-40 with Gibbs and Montgomery. I think that Gibbs should be the lead back here. Maybe not around the goal line. Love to see Montgomery around the goal line more often. But I think that this is Jahmyr Gibbs' backfield. This is a break-in season for Jahmyr Gibbs. He's definitely going to have over 1,000 yards. Will he get to 1,500 overall combined? That is the question. 30 seconds, Eric, on Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, the electrician, Jahmyr Gibbs. This kid is special. And what do I mean by that? He's putting up all these yards and getting all these touchdowns. That's not what I'm talking about. This kid, when the chips are down and you need someone to put that game on their back, he takes over for the team. I'm telling you, this kid knows when it's time to turn it on. And that is what we're looking for in a number 12 overall pick from the first round. And that's the type of attitude and type of resilience that we need from JMO. And that's what we need to see. I'm hoping we see it from him. And it's the it factor. That's what Jahmyr Gibbs has, the it factor. He's a winner. He's going to be a champion. He's going to put that team on his back and take them where they need to go. And I really do believe that Jahmyr Gibbs has carved out a larger role for himself on this offense, whether that be going out as a wide receiver or taking carries away from David Montgomery. And that's going to be really hard to do because Demo is awesome. And look at all the weights that he's putting on himself, picking up 750 pounds during the offseason, So it's going to be really hard for David Montgomery to give up some plays, but maybe that keeps him a little fresher. And I think that Jahmyr Gibbs is definitely going to be our number 1 this season.
So, question in here from Mike P says, Will 2 years for Williams, but how many games compared to Gibbs? So Jamison Williams has appeared in 16 games over 2 seasons. Jahmyr Gibbs, 15 games over 2 seasons, not including the postseason. So I'm not sure where we're going with that question, but I would say this. Jahmyr Gibbs has obviously done more in 15 games than what Jamison has done in 16 over 2 seasons. And Jahmyr did it in 1. So I guess that's my answer to your question. If you needed more from that, I'll try to answer it as best as I can. No, if Gibbs gets hurt and doesn't play, does that mean he's a bust? No. And I don't think that Jamison is a bust yet. I think that this is the season that defines him. If he is able to play, the entire season, and just does not produce and maybe he gets knocked down the depth chart a little bit, that's where we're going to start coming out with the terms like, being a bust, because anyone that's a first round pick, they can't put it together within 3 seasons. Now, I realize his first season, there's nothing he could do about that. He was coming to the NFL with an ACL. The issue that I had is when he did get a chance to play, he didn't know the playbook. And that was said multiple times. He just wasn't ready. He wasn't prepared. He wasn't mature. He even said that himself. Year 2, another immature mistake with the gambling issue, held him out of the first 4 games. And then when he was installed into the offense, drop, clearly wasn't ready to go, didn't have his mind sharpened, and then he started to pick it up like the last 8 weeks of the season, had a better postseason, which, you know what? I'm glad he turned it on in the postseason because that's where we needed him the most. But if anybody gets hurt, I would not call them a bust. Injuries can happen. They're going to happen. But J-Mo has not been injured in the NFL. He has not had any injuries. He came to the NFL with an injury. I take that back. He had a minor hamstring issue last year in camp, but that didn't hold him out of any games. The suspension is what held him out of the game. So he has not played because of an injury other than in preseason, which didn't count. So next guy, linebacker Jack Campbell. This is a break-in candidate for me here in 2024. Another first-round pick last season, number 18 overall. Jack Campbell brings a very strong collegiate resume to the NFL, or brought a strong collegiate resume to the NFL, and then showed in spurts last season how good he can be. Leadership qualities really started to show up in Jack Campbell about halfway through the season. He struggled a bit in the beginning of the season. He was having an issue with speed. The game just seemed to be a little bit too fast for him. When it finally slowed down, that is where we saw Jack Campbell finally excel at being the Mike linebacker. He's got incredible instincts and tackling ability. He's already caught the attention of fans and the coaching staff, before the season started last year. But of course, after the midway point of last year's season, Campbell's strong performance really started to shine. Sky's the limit for this kid. Jack Campbell has a huge ceiling, but we saw glimpses last year of just how good he can be. Take his best couple of games last year. That's what I'm expecting out of Jack Campbell this season, game in and game out. He is ready to be a cornerstone of this linebacking core or linebacking unit for many seasons to come. Jack Campbell, break-in candidate 2024. 30 seconds to you, Eric, on Jack Campbell.
Yeah, I see this kid breaking out. So if I had to pick one player on offense and one player on defense that I think are going to be just heads and tails above where they were last year, my one on defense would be Jack Campbell, and my one on offense would be J-Mo. Those are the two I want to see make the biggest impact on offense and defense this year. You know, coming out of Iowa, I think Jack Campbell, Iowa. He played against some pretty good competition in college, and it took a little bit once he got to the pros to figure out the pro game. But if you watch towards the end of the season, man, that kid was everywhere on the field making tackles, and he didn't miss too many of them. So I really believe that this year he's really going to bring it on, and he didn't take a day off this whole offseason. He had his mind in the playbook, other than going to weddings and stuff like that. This kid, all he does is talk football all the time. All he does is think football. This guy is 100% complete football player. He's going to be awesome this year.
Yeah, I'm expecting big things out of Captain Jack, man. Really impressive. RAD score outside, his RAD score is like a 9.99. Very impressive. He just
it wouldn't surprise me if he's named a captain.
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know if he'll get that this year. That's tough. We'll see. That'll be something to monitor, man. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
So my last one. This guy doesn't need any introduction. This guy doesn't need to do anything else, in my opinion, to show us or tell us that he's elite. During last season's training camp, we started to see who Sam Laporta was. Ifeatu Melifonwu, again, in the podcast that I listened to yesterday, said that Sam Laporta was a guy during training camp and in the early preseason and practices that you didn't know if he had it in him. Like, they didn't know that Sam Laporta was going to be that guy. But then he said, man, week one, Sam Laporta? Yeah. He didn't realize just how good he was. He turned it on in the game setting. Totally different from practice to game. Just a guy that just went to a different level. Turned on a few more switches. Sam Laporta, drafted second round last season. Another rookie with the potential to be, another second-year player with the potential to be a break-in player And another key contributor in this offense this year. He was responsible for almost 1/4 of last season's total offensive production. Known for reliable hands, route running tree, which I don't know a route that he doesn't run. Definitely has the tools to be dependable. Has built an incredible relationship with Jared Goff. Training camp is going to be his opportunity once again to prove that he can handle the physicality of the NFL and the pace of the NFL, and to break in again here in 2024 to be one of the best tight ends in the league. I am putting Sam Laporta on the pedestal today. He will finish as the best tight end in the league in 2024. And I know that goes against everything that I've said, where I say that he doesn't have to have back-to-back, 1,000-yard seasons. But I think that he can do it. I think that the emergence of J-Mo could slow that down. I think the emergence of Jahmyr Gibbs in the passing game could slow that down. But I think that when you look at his tape and compare to everybody else's tape this year, he may not have, all of the yards to be number one in the tight end in the NFL this year. What I mean is the most yards. But I think that what he does in the game and what he contributes in the game, he will be the best tight end in the NFL from an efficiency standpoint. So tight end Sam Laporta, man, look, he completely blew up last year, and nobody expected it. I was probably one of the very few that believed in him, watching him out of Iowa. I slated him to the Lions early in the offseason before the draft last year. Extremely happy that he ended up as a Detroit Lion, because I didn't see the Luke Musgraves. I didn't see the Mayors be that much different or better than Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta was obviously the best position, or the best, the best rookie to take last season, and he proved it. So Sam Laporta, 30 seconds, Eric.
All right. So I was watching an interview with Jared Goff, and I don't remember where it was, and he was talking about his rapport with Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown and his receivers. And there was something that he said. Sam Laporta just gets open. He's like, I didn't see this kid coming along this fast. I didn't think that we were going to have this rapport right away. He just gets open. He's like, I don't know how he does it. He's a wizard. He just gets open. So Jared Goff likes Amon-Ra St. Brown because he trusts him. And he got that trust right away with Sam Laporta. We wish he'd have it with J-Mo. It's just not there yet. But he just gets open. He couldn't deny the kid passes when he's that wide open. And for a rookie to come in and do that, I don't see any slowing down of Sam Laporta in year two. He has the most awesome chemistry with Jared Goff now. That is not going to change. Nothing's going to stop it other than possible injury.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it there, man. Injury aside, Sam Laporta should be the best overall tight end in the league, and will be the best overall tight end year in and year out, in my opinion, as time goes on. So in conclusion, look, the Detroit Lions embark on a 2024 training camp that really kicks off tomorrow with everybody in-house. All of these players, among those to watch closely, or will be among those to watch closely as their breakout season, roster bubble type season. The few that I didn't mention, the Isaiah Williams, the Morris Norris, these are bubble guys. I think that there's potential there for them to make the roster, but these are roster bubble guys that could be a big part of the special teams moving forward this season. We need speed. We need guys that can get down the field in a hurry. We also need some guys that can return. So they could make a way for themselves on the roster if they can play special teams at a high clip. So keep your eyes out for those two guys here. Look, I'm expecting big things out of Sam Laporta in year two, and Jack Campbell in year two, and Jahmyr Gibbs in year two. Josh Pascal's got to bear down or get off the pot, right? Brian Branch, year two, he's got to break out again. Got to stay injury free. Jameson Williams, man, it's time. It is time. The biggest question I had for him this offseason, again, we saw pictures of Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown working out together. I did not see any pictures of that with J-Mo. That is my biggest question on this kid. Take every opportunity with your quarterback. He is the only one that you need to develop rapport with. No other quarterback matters. If you go spend the summer with a different quarterback, or the spring with a different quarterback, what is that going to do to you this summer? What is that going to do to you this fall? Nothing. If anything, it could hinder you because you're building chemistry with somebody else other than Jared Goff. So, again, I'm not saying that it didn't happen. I just have not seen any pictures or anything of Jameson Williams practicing with Jared Goff this offseason. Those are the things that need to happen every year. This is the time for Jameson to really break out and be that number 2. And if he can't, look, there's guys that are hungry right behind him that can play. And that's what I love about this roster is it's extremely deep. Lastly here, Malcolm Rodriguez. Does this guy make the roster, Eric? You think he makes the roster?
I think he makes the roster.
Stephen Gilmore, you think he makes the roster?
No.
Okay. It's going to be a fun season ahead, guys. Welcome to training camp. Football is back. I'm super excited about it. And thank you again for watching the Rise and Grind morning show and sticking with us after the 10 a.m. hours. Now 10:19. You guys have been great in the chat. Keep lighting it up. Keep having fun. Let's go Lions. Let's go One Pride. We're almost there, guys. Couple more weeks. We got football. A few more days. Where are we at? 9 days away from the Hall of Fame game.
Woohoo.
Football's back. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy. All right, Eric. Good show, man. Thanks for being on again this morning as usual. You guys are great. Have a great day. Enjoy it. It's Monday. Who knows what's going to happen on a Monday because Monday's here. Finally didn't have a problem. We started off with a problem this morning. You didn't know about it, though. We fixed it.
Ah.
All right, you guys. Take care. Have a great day. Go on, Pride. Go Detroit Lions. Take care. Bye-bye.
Adam Schefter at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people shattering the NFL draft attendance record.
This is the future. Evolution. This is the future.